Greetings. I want to welcome to today's chat Wendy Julian, who is the CEO of CASA LA, which is, for many of you who are listening might not know, is court-appointed special advocates work with kids in the courts. And CASA LA is a mammoth organization, and had the good fortune to work with Wendy and her board. But thanks, Wendy, for joining us and giving us a flavor of what's happening out on the West Coast, where even with COVID-19, it's still 75 and sunny every day, right?
I think that's even worse because I can see it out my window right now, but
All right,
can't go out there.
Yeah, fair enough. Let me start with a programming question. Have you guys seen a change in how you've or have to have made a change with how you're delivering program at CASA?
Well, so as you said, it stands for Court Appointed Special Advocates, and Dependency Court is basically shut down. They're only hearing the emergency cases, and even in those cases, starting last week by order of the Supreme Court of California, they are doing most of those via WebEx. So children, for the most part, are not coming to court, which of course is the right thing. And so that means that our main job, which is appearing in court and giving reports to the judge about the child's well-being, is on hold, at least until it's looking like June 22nd is the date that the court has given for court operations to be expected to return to normal. But the court-appointed special advocates can still write and submit reports and join via WebEx when there are hearings, but for the most part, we don't have hearings. The other big difference is that the CASAs are supposed to visit their child at least once a month and participate in lots of meetings. So those meetings and visits are all happening via phone, Facebook Messenger, Zoom, however you can get a hold of the kids, which sort of depends on how old they are and what their caregiving situation is. The only really big trouble we've had with visitation is with our kids who are in lockup, that there have been a lot of really strong regulations keeping even parents or anyone from visiting kids who are in probation halls and camps, because there's a very real fear of what it means to not be able to social distance in those halls and camps. So we've had trouble getting in touch with some of them even via phone.
That is this is going to lead us to my next question, but that seems to me to be a very, very compelling reason to further support the work that you guys do. But with that, how are you guys handling fundraising? And the synthesis for that question is, early on, there was a lot of people who assumed we shouldn't do fundraising or we should do fundraising. So what are you doing and what are you experiencing around raising money?
Well, the biggest challenge with fundraising is that we had to cancel our annual gala, which is to be held April 22nd. It accounts for about 25% of our annual revenue, over $1 million in one evening. So that's catastrophic, I guess is really the only way to put it. Yeah. Although, and our committee decided last week that we are not going to reschedule it. There are we've noticed a few local nonprofits that have started popping up with September and October dates for rescheduling their spring galas, but our committee was worried that that would then have an impact on the 2021 gala, and also that a lot of our donors might be the type of folks who would still be hesitant to come to a large gathering even in the fall. Okay. So we're canceling, and instead doing a virtual event, which I have no idea whether that's going to work or not. Okay, right. It sounds fun.
Are you doing it in April or are you doing it on a different date?
We're doing it on a different date. I guess there's a date, May 5th, that's been designated as a giving day. So we picked that day, and we're going to do an evening, like 5 to 6, live show that will also be recorded. So we'll be able to send it out in a kind of produced video format, and it will include people telling jokes from their living rooms and giving short speeches, and a couple of pre-recorded videos. We're working on getting some local politicians to record some videos, and then we have decided we're going to honor the honorees from this year next year. So it'll be just like a teaser. Like we were joking, one of our honorees is our founder, And she said that she had somehow orchestrated this whole thing so we'd have to honor her 2 years in a row, which she thinks is funny. So she's great.
Did you get early sponsorship money, and what are you doing with it?
We did. So we have raised almost $500,000 in early sponsorship money, and we've contacted everybody individually. And so far, everyone is letting us keep it, which is fantastic. What we haven't decided or know is what that means for next year's gala, because obviously a lot of those people are supporting the honorees and we'll want them to attend next year's gala, and it seems a little weird to ask them to sponsor again. So we're keeping the cash now because we desperately need it now, and they know that and have been very supportive, and we'll see how that goes next year.
Okay. And we've heard from many of our clients that who had an event, the same response they're getting from sponsors and underwriters, whatever term they use, is to keep that money, put it to use, which is a positive, right? Everyone wants to go to the doom and gloom scenario, and we haven't quite seen that yet. So
it's very positive, except that's different than writing a check today.
Well,
so,
for sure.
That's certainly what we're worried about.
For sure. So have you guys done other fundraising thus far? And if so, what has been your experience?
So we did an appeal that was really more focused on explaining that we're still fully in operation and what CASA volunteers can and are doing, even given social distancing and the safer at home order. And those email and mail appeals don't tend to bring in a ton of money for us, but we did have good responses, and I think at least it got the message across that we're still operating. I wrote an op-ed about the impact this has on kids in foster care, and that has been picked up. So I had an interview that'll play on NBC today and on KTLA, which is our big local show, tomorrow. So that hopefully will actually make a bigger difference in terms of both recruiting volunteers and some fundraising.
Yeah. Now, Wendy, you're sort of a local legend, but the only way that's going to get upended is if there's some sort of car chase that the KTLA files, but that doesn't seem likely today. So probably okay.
There was one car chase last week, and there were some people in the comments suggesting that it was staged.
Yeah, I got
local news doesn't know what else to do.
Yeah, KTLA is like infamous for that out in Los Angeles. Okay, well, I mean, you're seeing some results. You've not gotten any negative responses, I would think.
Well, we did get one very negative response from our largest foundation funder.
Wow.
And so overall, the foundations have been incredible. Some of them speeding up payments. We had one foundation give us a totally unsolicited grant.
Terrific.
As an emergency gap. A lot of them saying, you can use this for general operating or whatever you need it for, or don't worry about the reporting. It's been a really unified message. And then we had one foundation say, we were up for a renewal, and board vote was supposed to be in May. So this is in our budget this year. They told us how much to apply for. I mean, we're doing everything the way we're supposed to do it. And they sent a message that said they're holding off on all giving at this point, and giving to COVID-19 related causes, whatever that means. And it means, in this case, they're giving to the mayor's emergency fund. They announced that this week, and that's devastating. And it was a surprise to me, but it was a big.
Okay. Well,
big loss.
And so there's some negative, but largely it's been positive. Is that fair?
Largely it has been positive.
Okay.
And I'm also optimistic because I've heard it from some of our individual large donors that we're going to be able to talk to them about helping us get over this bridge with a one-time kind of a gift. Which is lovely. So they have been really open to talking about it. The other thing is, of course, this Payroll Protection Act grant from the SBA. So we applied for it and it was submitted. We have a great relationship with our bank, which is sort of a small to medium-sized bank, which sounds like we were lucky not to be with one of the bigger banks. And So that will really help. It actually makes the full difference of the gala if we get that forgivable loan.
Yeah, and many people have been struggling throughout the country on that SBA PPP situation with, you know, the SBA website's down, or our local banks. You know, we've heard different banks hearing different things. So hopefully it works out for you. I mean, you know, it's sort of a vital link to operating.
I think that what ended up happening is that the banks obviously went with their bigger customers, and customers who had lines of credit and customers they have relationships with. And so if you're with a bigger bank, you just got a bigger pool of people you're competing with. So.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Have you been having board meetings yet? Have you done any since since all of this is unveiled, and how have you done them, and what have they been like?
So we had a board meeting, and we have 29 board members right now. We had 27. 27 people attend. That was incredible. Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing. And we did it on Zoom, and we did a practice run. So the meeting started at 12:30, and we invited everybody at 9 to log on and try their video and try their audio and have it work. We did about 10 minutes at the beginning where we left everybody's audio open, and people chit-chatted and, you know, told coronavirus jokes and made fun of each other, all the good stuff, And then we actually had our IT guy, who's an incredible young man, moderate the meeting. So we asked people, so he was following the agenda, and he really clearly unmuted who was presenting and the appropriate members of staff who could respond to questions. And then we had board members type in the chat if they had a question, and then he would unmute them one by one, and it worked really very well. The board meeting went well. People are obviously deeply concerned, especially about our revenue. I mean, we've got about a little less than 10% of our money comes from the government, and it's by any means stable. So something like this is really difficult, but it's also impossible for us to predict the future. So there was a lot of patience, but also I think very well-founded concern about what we do going forward.
And with respect to your funding streams, not all of your sister organizations, if you will, work exactly the same way with their funding. What did you feel like it was a regular board meeting? I mean, minus the crisis. I mean, did you feel like, look, we're behaving, we're stepping up, we're governing the way we need to?
I think there was some questioning about how some questioning about how staff are doing their jobs, which is partially just because our board generally stays out of operations, and so we did a lot of explaining about how this is really working and how people are working remotely. That was a big part of it. The other major concern that they have is about how this impacts our recruitment, which is real. And I think that that's a governance question. I mean, if we can't recruit volunteers, we really don't have an organization. So their questions, I think, were all very appropriately governance related. Just the governance topic right now overlaps with operations. And I think that, we had a large staff meeting this week, and I learned from the board meeting that I started off with prepared remarks, which I'm not accustomed to doing, around how we treat each other in a time of crisis. And the staff meeting actually, I think, went better because of that. And so I'll certainly do that the next time we have a board meeting. It's just to kind of set the stage a little bit better.
Okay. And you listen, having worked with your board, they're really in-person kind of people, but so is the program you guys deliver. I mean, it's very difficult to deliver it virtually. So kudos to however you've adjusted and whatever amount of kids you're getting to reach, because it probably is not the normal number, and the isolation that they're feeling is only compounding the challenges that they probably have.
I will say the only reason that's it's not as bad as it seems is that most of our kids are over 12, and a lot of them have phones.
Good.
So
I would,
yes, it is good. So my case, for example, he just turned 21, but his case didn't close because it got continued since they're not hearing non-essential cases, which is lucky for him. So he lives with his grandmother who's in her 70s, and so I delivered some groceries to them. I didn't see him, I left him outside on his porch, and then he came out, and I've been texting with him and emailing with him, and he said that, this is, he asked me some questions about his SNAP benefits and some questions about his Social Security application that's pending. And so there's still a lot of things that I'm able to do for him in a different way, but he doesn't really care. I'm not his mentor.
right.
I'm someone that he sees as a person to come to when he can't find the answer to his problem, or when he has some kind of serious need, like he really needs hot Cheetos, which were on his grocery list, which I, of course, did. I bought them. Of course I did.
I don't think, as long as you brought the extra bag home to your kids, I don't think that a lot of people understand that the work that is done in the human services field oftentimes extends beyond what you really do on the core mission. So what you shared was really an illustration of, we do what we do, and we always do other stuff, and we don't say we're not supposed to do it, we just do it. And so
well, the other interesting thing about CASA is that it is really a one-on-one relationship.
Yeah.
So we don't have this thing where people have to be showing up at our office, or where we have a food delivery service, or some of the challenges that lots of our partners are facing, because on a one-on-one basis, people can help solve problems more efficiently, even in a crisis situation. So it's a model that's particularly suited for this type of a problem.
So I'll before I ask my final question, I'll just say that if KTLA is out chasing the car, it might be yours doing a food delivery, right?
Right.
So not only is
yeah.
you the driver, but you're now the featured story as well. So I think
I've never been able to drive so fast on the freeway before. So
yeah, not in LA.
exciting.
I mean, So my final question is advice for your nonprofit executive colleagues of all types and sizes. What would you share with them?
So I am a very practical lawyer who doesn't do, like touchy-feely. That's not my style. I don't like it. I never have. This morning, I took a class through my alumni association at USC in guided meditation, and I feel so much better.
Really?
Now,
yeah.
And so I think if I had a recommendation, it would be like breathe, and try to have some grace, and just realize I'm not going to be able to get through everything. The other interesting thing is that I have watched some of my team members really step up, and I joke about it that I know who I want on my team after the apocalypse, which maybe this is it. I don't know. But some people can do it, and some people can't, and that's okay. And the people that can't, some of them have really good reasons why they can't. But it has given me an opportunity to see who those folks are on my team, who I really can count on, and could do more when we get back to normal. And that's exciting. So I hope those are a couple of pieces of insight that I've had.
We're going to share, and we'll see. I'm very thankful and grateful that you took some time out. I know you got a lot on your plate, not only in your own home, but professionally, et cetera. And as I've always told you, I had no idea you were an attorney. So every time you tell me that, it's like the first time I've heard it. Thank you, Wendy, for your time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You bet. Wash your hands. I end everything with wash your hands.
Absolutely.
See you next time.
Thanks, Dave.
Bye.